All right, today we're going to unpack a real paradox, one that sits right at the heart of the American story. We're talking about Puerto Rico. It's a place with such a vibrant culture, a deep history, but its political status, well, it makes you ask some really big questions about what it even means to be an American. So let's dive in. And this is really the core of it all, isn't it? How can you have over 3 million U.S. citizens who can't vote in federal elections? I mean, people born in Puerto Rico are citizens. They can serve in the U.S. military, they can move anywhere in the U.S. no problem. But if they live on the island, they get no vote for president, no real voice in the very Congress that passes laws that affect their lives. How is that possible? To get it, we've got to go way back.
You see, to solve this modern-day puzzle, you can't just look at today's headlines. No. The real answers are buried in the past, in the power struggles and clashing empires of the late 1800s.
And our story really kicks off in one single fateful year, a year that completely changed Puerto Rico's destiny, shifting it from one global power to another, just like that.
You know, the speed of this whole thing is just staggering. Think about it. In 1897, after centuries under Spain, Puerto Rico finally gets a degree of self-government. It was a huge step toward more freedom. But that taste of autonomy was incredibly short-lived. The Spanish-American War breaks out, the U.S. invades, and boom. By the end of 1898, the island has a new ruler. A brief moment of sovereignty just wiped away in a matter of months.
So this handover of power didn't make Puerto Rico a state. It didn't even put it on the path to statehood like, say, Arizona or Alaska back in the day. Instead, the U.S. created this new and, frankly, pretty confusing legal category for it.
Okay, the term you have to know is unincorporated territory. It sounds complicated, I know, but it's crucial. This whole idea came out of a series of Supreme Court cases in the early 1900s. Basically, the court was trying to figure out what to do with these new lands the U.S. got from Spain, places with totally different cultures. So they came up with a solution. These lands would belong to the United States, but they wouldn't be part of the United States. That little distinction, it would change everything. And this is where the rubber really meets the road. Look at the difference it makes. If you're a U.S. citizen in a state, you vote for president. You have representatives in Congress who can actually vote on your behalf. But in Puerto Rico, no presidential vote. You get one representative in Congress, but they can't vote on final bills. And maybe the biggest one of all, the Supreme Court decided that the Constitution doesn't fully apply. Only what they call fundamental rights do. That means protections other citizens take for granted aren't guaranteed there.
So, as you can probably guess, this really unique and unequal political setup has sparked a huge and often heated debate among experts for decades about what exactly you should call it.
And here's the thing. As sources like Foreign Affairs and National Geographic point out, a lot of scholars look at this situation, they look at international law, and they conclude that it fits the definition of a colony. Now, that's not just a casual word they're throwing around. For them, it's a technical term for a place that's governed by another country without having full power over its own destiny.
But look, this isn't just some dusty legal argument or an academic debate. This political status has very real, very profound consequences for the millions of U.S. citizens who live there every single day.
43%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the percentage of the population in Puerto Rico living in poverty. It's a figure that says so much about the island's day-to-day economic reality.
And if you want some perspective, just look at this comparison. The U.S. national average for poverty is about 11.5%. Puerto Rico's rate is nearly 4 times higher. We're not talking about a small gap here. This is a massive economic chasm between one group of American citizens and the rest.
And the sources we've been examining, they draw a direct line from these tough economic numbers right back to the island's political status. The argument is that when you have a system that limits local control over your own economy and restricts access to certain federal programs, it directly contributes to these kinds of economic struggles.
So after looking at the history, the law, and the real-world impact, we're left with this really powerful question that kind of frames this whole entire story.
So let's just recap how we got here, right? It all starts with being acquired from Spain. Then comes that critical Supreme Court decision creating this unincorporated territory status. That, in turn, leads to a system of governing without full representation, which many experts say is directly linked to the serious economic challenges the island is up against today.
And so we land on this question, a question that's been echoing for more than 125 years now. Puerto Rico has been caught in this political limbo as the oldest and most populated territory of the most powerful democracy on Earth. It's a story that really forces you to think hard about what words like citizenship and rights and democracy truly mean. What does the future hold for 3.2 million Americans? Well, that's the chapter that still hasn't been written.